Welcome back to Ascending with TIFFTALKS22. So, today we are just going to talk about honesty. We're going to talk about truth. There's something that I was noticing over this past week, and if you watch my readings, which a lot of you probably don't, but if you were to tune into my readings or even just pay attention to posts on my page or the community tab, you'll see that I often address being so attached to the lie that we refuse to see a truth of something. I feel like the lie often feels better than the truth. And so we have phrases like ignorance is bliss, or we'll say things like there were no signs, when the reality of the matter is that we chose to actively ignore the sign because our ego may have said you don't want to feel that, or you don't want to feel what comes with having to accept that thing or that situation or that reality as what is true. A lot of times we choose to attach to a lie because anything else would make us at fault, so to speak. And a lot of times we don't want to bear fault for either our experiences or the way something is unfolding or someone's reaction, right? To an action that we cause. So it's like, okay, we create a narrative, or we may create a narrative, and we say, well, that feels better, so I'm going to stick to that. And I know, not only do I know from personal experience that this happens, but I see this in people's readings quite often. It is the equivalent to being in denial. But a lot of times when we are in denial, we don't even realize that that's where we are, right? So yeah, I just wanted to talk briefly about that. I had a conversation with someone today who, do I want to give that specifically? Well, I just had a conversation with someone today. This is going to be a short message. And what I saw in this person was something that they were hoping for or expecting. It wasn't about that, the response that they got not being enough or sufficient, but it was about them wanting a response that was going to make them feel better, that was going to coddle their ego, that was going to make them feel like, okay, me allowing myself to be vulnerable was worth it. Here's the thing though, the truth of the matter is life is full of risk, life is full of ups and downs, life is full of triumphs and victories, life is full of grief and loss, right? It is an ever-changing wheel. So there are going to be ups, there are also going to be downs, and we have to be willing to accept the truths in all of those situations in order to allow ourselves to grow and to transform. It makes me think of the person who stays so stuck on a past version of themselves that they don't allow themselves to grow. So you continue to focus on that past or the way you were, and you long for that past or the way you were, or you convince yourself that that is who you still are, when in reality, being stuck on that is what's keeping you from not growing, right? It's keeping you stuck. It's keeping you stagnant. But it's easier to hang on to that than to see the reality of today. Like I already accept the reality of the today, where it's like I am not that person anymore, right? Oh, I'm really praying that I am able to explain this clearly. So earlier this week, while it was initially brought to my attention, I was seeing some things. Y'all know I do not love to sugarcoat, right? Just give it to me straight. And I feel like I'm a unicorn in that way, because I feel like there are so many people who don't value that, because they want you to say or to tell them the thing that is going to make them feel good, right? To use myself as an example, when my best friend, who she's passed away now, but one thing about her, she was always dropping like wisdom nuggets on me, right? She was such a wise person, a spiritually discerned person, and she knew her friend, right? So when it was something that she was prepared to tell me that she knew that I might not respond favorably to, she'd be like, okay, I have to be really honest with you, and I know you don't want to hear this, right? She would kind of brace me for the truth. Um, and I can say right now that that wasn't necessary, but it may have been to some extent, right? To some degree, because a lot of times we don't want to see ourselves as the person that is at fault or the person that needs to change or needs to do something differently. And so that, my friends, is an ego issue. But this is also why a lot of people are unable to heal, because they have not only settled for the lie, they've adopted the lie and refused to see anything other than the lie as the truth. So you are not able to heal. You're not able to create change or transformation because you're stuck on the fact that, no, I don't need to change. Everybody else needs to do something different, right? So that really is something that keeps us stuck and keeps us stagnant. But the road to transformation, the road to change, the road to breaking chains, the road to breaking generational patterns and cycles is to allow ourselves to be radically honest with ourselves and accept a truth, not just because it makes us feel good, but because it is what we have discerned is fact or reality. There is a young lady that I follow. She's an astrologer, and she made a post about this Saturn retrograde, which I think started yesterday or today. And I recently made a post about Saturn retrograde. And Saturn is often a planet of strict teachings, right? Like the strict parent is Saturn, right? They're the ones that give guidance, rules, direction, boundaries, guidelines, etc. When it is in reverse, we are being asked to slow down and examine those things. Anyway, the way that she made her post about it, she was very intentional, like, I don't want to scare anyone, and I feel like in her trying so hard not to scare anyone, that she kind of distorted the true meaning of Saturn retrograde, because she was trying so hard to make the message be one that people liked or felt good about, that the truth of the matter got distorted. She and I discussed this too, and we kind of just agreed to disagree. But what I see is that people often do this in their waking life, right? It's kind of like having a child who desperately wants to do something, and everybody's like, oh, you're a natural, oh, you got it. And the truth of the matter is, for you to be successful on the level that you decide that you want to be successful on, there are some things that you need to improve upon. There are some things that you need to practice. There is some training that you need to have. But the person that says that to the child, people are going to look at them like, why would you tell them that? Because it is constructive for their improvement and their growth. You just encourage them because they're a child. No, you be honest with them because they are a child, right? So they now have time to incorporate change. Even us as adults, some of us still live our lives in that way. And it does more harm than good. I had a grandmother, Mama Dia, who was very much so an enabler to a lot of her sons, and I could go deep, but I probably won't. I'm sure that was connected to so many other things, right? But she was very much an enabler, so much so that I immediately knew, okay, that is not who I want to be for my sons, right? I could have said, okay, well, she was just trying to help them. But after you have like repeated prison stints or you have repeated offenses, you have to realize that, okay, maybe something that I'm doing as a parent is not working, right? So in order to be really honest with ourselves, instead of saying there's nothing that can be done, no, there is something that can be done, because tough love is a thing and it's a valuable thing, right? That's just another example. So the point of the message today is just to really ask yourself, when you're assessing anything, I'm trying to give you examples of things that you can apply it to. When you're assessing anything, especially yourself, which is what we should all be focused on, because it's the only thing, or the one thing that we can control is our own thoughts, our own actions, our own beliefs. And because it's what we can control, because it's what we can change, that needs to be our focus, period. So when you look at a situation, say you're in a toxic relationship, I shared an exchange with someone the other day about a codependent relationship. She was saying this person always internalizes my anger, when my anger is usually at myself and it's my own stuff and it's connected, but because they can't fix it, they internalize it. And so I gave them advice to communicate that to this person, and they responded that it's not as simple as communication, because this is a codependent connection. Okay, so since you're aware that it's a codependent connection, then are you just venting, or is there something that you can do to make the necessary adjustments to change the boundaries of that relationship? But because you are aware that it's codependent, you stay in it. So even though you're complaining about a dynamic, you are aware of the dynamic and you stay there. So in honesty, ask yourself, what benefit is it that you're receiving from staying in that circumstance or situation, right? It's kind of like really being somewhere that you don't want to be and constantly complaining about it. I can speak to this fact, constantly complaining about it, and rationalizing, well, I need to be there, or I need to do this, instead of doing the things that you need to do to transform the situation, whether that be to transform the relationship, or to allow yourself to be able to relocate and move out of the situation or the circumstance that you're complaining about, right? So we adjust, or we tell ourselves this lie, and we allow ourselves to believe this lie, to accept this lie, like I'm just stuck. And because we may somehow benefit from being the victim, right? Or when we tell the story of our toxic connection, we blame the other person instead of saying, you know what, these are some things that I noticed early on, and I didn't stop the relationship because of it. I ignored that because I didn't want to believe these things about that person. Or I overlooked that and settled because I was afraid that I wouldn't find something different or better, right? Or I subconsciously feel like I don't deserve better. So I just settled for, allowed, and put up with some things that were less than what I deserved. We don't want to have that type of honesty with ourselves, because our ego says, nope, make it their fault. It's not you. It's not you. There was nothing you could have done. There was nothing you could have changed. The truth of the matter is, it is always us when it comes to that regard, as far as what we want to accept as truth. And I'm not saying bad stuff don't happen to good people, because it absolutely does. What I'm asking you to do is, when you are reevaluating or you are assessing, be radically honest with yourself. Have you chosen to take the stance that ignorance is bliss, that there were no signs, or are you willing to see that, yeah, there were signs that I overlooked? Or it doesn't feel better to be in the dark than it does to be told the truth, so that I can make the adjustments that are necessary. So that's a personal question. That's for you to answer for yourself about your circumstance or your situation. All right. This is why you probably heard me say this before, but this is why so many people aren't willing to do shadow work, because you have to start by being radically honest with yourselves. And if you have become attached to telling someone else or giving someone else the narrative that the narrative that you decided to adopt as truth that makes you feel better than being honest with yourself, you're essentially lying to other people. So if you go, and you lying to yourself. So if you're going to lie to yourself, you're definitely going to continue to lie to other people. Be willing to be very honest with you. Is it the truth, or is this just the truth that makes me feel the best? Right? I hope that is helpful, guys. I really am going to end it there. I even feel like I drug it out a little while. But I hope it was helpful. I did, before I started this video, pull, because you guys know that I am a healer, a reader, etc. I am definitely here to offer guidance and assistance to grow, transform, and heal. And so I chose to pull a couple cards for the collective energy regarding what needed to be known today. And the first card that I got was the Ever Unfolding Rose. And I love this card because at the bottom it says cracked open. It's happening to you, not for you. This is about not only pulling yourself out of that victim mindset or mentality, but it is about understanding that life has ups and downs, and the only way to benefit from those, and not even the only way, but the way to benefit from those is to see it as something that is happening for us on our behalf. It is happening to grow us. It is happening to expand us in a way that had we not had the experience, we would not have grown. We would not have accepted this new truth or adopted a new truth or reality, right? So the Ever Unfolding Rose, it is happening for you, not to you. You are not a victim. You are a victor and overcomer. I firmly, firmly, firmly believe that. And I also feel that a lot of people don't believe that about and for themselves. But oftentimes it's because we've adopted or accepted like a limiting belief as truth when it is not that. The next card out is To Stay the Course, which says don't panic. You're not on the wrong path. You're just having a bumpy start. Learn from your experiences and keep going. So this may be connected to someone who, I hope not as a result of this message, right? Because I'm just here to make you think. But maybe because of your life experiences, or because you've had this epiphany, or you've realized some things, you may be being super hard on yourself or super judgmental of yourself, or feeling like you made a bad choice and it's just the end all be all. And the truth of the matter is, it is not the end all be all. We have and go through phases in our lives so that we can have the experience of growth. It is indeed a gift. It is a gift, and we should look at it as such, okay? So if you feel like you've made the wrong choice, the fact that you even watched this video, or especially if you got to this part of it, the fact that you've even done that suggests that you are open to change, you're open to transformation. So give yourselves a pat on the back for just that, because it's a lot of people who ain't even trying to go that far. If you tell them they have to change something, they gonna automatically tune you out. They automatically don't want to hear or receive the message. So I'm definitely praying for open and receptive hearts and minds to the message that was delivered today. Learn from your experiences. Allow yourself to learn from your experiences and keep going and growing. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Share, like, subscribe, share even in the comments your own personal experiences. When have you guys experienced something where it was like, you know what, I was looking at this one way, but I just need to accept this truth or this reality? If you don't feel comfortable sharing publicly, that is fine too. Or you could just simply answer, have you had that experience where you had to accept a truth that you had been kind of avoiding for some time? How did accepting that truth change you or grow you? And even if you want to use that as a journal prompt, I feel like that would be super helpful too. But I hope these messages, this show was helpful to you. Thanks so much for watching.